Hello everybody and welcome back to Elite Dangerous Return from Beagle Point. Today's topic of discussion will be the Helldivers 2 controversy. I don't typically cover news very much, but I figured I'd go ahead and cover this one because it's such a big deal right now. But before we hop into that, let's go ahead and welcome all of the new viewers who might be joining the series just now. The purpose of this journey is to increase our exobiology rank, as well as to hopefully earn enough money to buy a fleet carrier once we get back to the bubble. We have already completed our journey to Beagle Point, and we are currently on our way back to Jameson Memorial, where all of my ships are, and hopefully by then we'll have enough to buy a fleet carrier, get all of our ships, and move ourselves out into the black with all of our stuff. That said, right now we are currently trying to get a couple more biological signatures off this planet. We didn't quite have enough time to grab everything in the last episode, so we're getting high enough so that we can turn back around, do some more filtering of hotspots on the planet's surface, and then hopefully find the other two species that we're looking for. I'm just going to wait till we get far enough away that the drop zone area meter goes away, and then we'll turn around. Then we'll hop back into the planetary scanner and see if we can do a little bit better with some hotspots over here. So let's do that. So osseous and fungoida are the ones that we need. I don't know that I'm going to worry about the fungoida because it typically tends to be... No, it looks kind of flat down there. It's just, I know that with this we're going to end up having to do this again. Okay, let's we'll go over here, and then maybe we'll get lucky and be able to kind of hop up to the left over this way and grab some fungoida. So we'll get back down here. Hopefully we can find some osseous and get back down over here. The other topic is the same as it has been recently. We are trying to raise money to replace my mother-in-law's car that got totaled by a hit and run. She has liability-only insurance, so she has no way of replacing the car. There is a link in the description if you would like to help out with that, do a good deed, help somebody get back on their feet. We've all contributed what we can, but it's not enough to help her get a car, so every little bit helps, and we really appreciate it. So yeah, the Helldivers 2 situation. Wow, that escalated very quickly. I don't have the game, but it is a game that I've been interested in, and at some point I would probably like to grab it. But we'll see. I don't know. $40 is a lot for me right now, and I mean, I know it's just $40, but in my situation, $40 is a lot. It's been a very popular game ever since it came out. I've heard nothing but awesome things about it. I've watched a couple of other YouTubers play the game, and it looks like it's really interesting. It's something that I would be into. Yeah, apparently, recently, and apparently this was always the plan, Sony, who is the publisher, decided that they were going to make I can't believe I didn't hit the ground on that one. Linking a PlayStation account mandatory, which means that you obviously have to create one if you don't have one. Now, for most people, obviously, it's not that big of a deal because, hey, just make the account, sign in, link the accounts and all that stuff. It's not that big of a deal if you're just looking at the steps involved. In principle, it's really annoying. It's not something that people should really have to do to play a game, especially if you're already buying it from a platform like Steam. Like, I'm not supporting them doing it. I'm just saying that, from a certain perspective, and I think a very incorrect perspective, but from a certain perspective, yeah, it really isn't that big of a deal because it's just, create an account, link it up, and then you never have to think about it again. But at the same time, it is an annoying extra step that you really shouldn't have to deal with. And a lot of people were getting really irritated about it. But I don't think that it really escalated quite as much as it has now until it started coming to light that there are a lot of countries where people can't make PlayStation accounts. And they sold the game to these people, knowing in advance before they sold the game to them that... this was going to happen, and they were going to lose access to the games that they bought because they live in a part of the world where they live in a part of the world where they can't make a PlayStation account. So what are they going to do? And the initial response was, well, sorry, too bad, so sad. No refunds. Fortunately, platforms like Steam appear to have gone out of their way to kind of, you know, tell Sony to F off. And they just started issuing refunds because, you know, it's pretty unreasonable to do a bait and switch like that, where you initially make it seem like, oh, I can play this game, and now all of a sudden we put this new thing in here that prevents you from being able to do it. I don't see anything here. We went right down into the spot where it's supposed to be. Osseous, I believe, is those spiral things, and I don't see anything yet. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just get the hell out of here, because I don't really feel like trying to find the Fungoida. Mass locked. Am I going to be able to just go straight from here? Of course not. So, you know, a lot of people felt like it was a massive bait and switch. Throttle up to engage. Felt like it was a massive bait and switch because they buy this game. It turns out to be this really awesome game that everybody likes. And then all of a sudden you lose access to it because, you know, you're unable, not even just that you're unwilling, but you're unable to make the required account to link it. And, you know, I don't think anybody can look at that situation and come up with a really good reason why that should be the case. I mean, we all know why Sony did what they did. They wanted to dragoon people into signing up for their store so that they have another opportunity to you know, try to sell you on something. And to be perfectly honest with you, as somebody who believes in, you know, who believes in the philosophy of a free market, not necessarily the way that we've chosen to do it, but who believes in the philosophy of a free market, there's a difference between, you know, offering something and coercing people into doing things, and that's absolutely coercion and definitely something that should be stepped in and stopped. But we don't really have a mechanism for doing that, so what can you do? Other than what people did. I mean, apparently, you know, I've been watching some videos, and apparently Sony has backtracked on their position, and they decided to remove that requirement because enough people got pissed off, and you know, platforms like Steam have done enough of the, you know, we're going to refund people because what you're doing is not right. That Sony doesn't really have much of a choice if they want to maintain any kind of goodwill from their player base. You can't go in there, start screwing people over that way, and then expect people to stick around. I mean, even the most diehard people are going to see that kind of behavior and be like, yeah, no, we're done. So, you know, it's great that the in the end the right thing is going to happen. Ideally, assuming they don't change their mind again. But realistically, it shouldn't happen in the first place. I mean, we live in a time now where everybody's trying to dip their fingers into your wallet, and it's really unfortunate because, you know, living life is hard enough without having all of these other people trying to come in and take things from you. Like one of the biggest things that really irritates me are like the job market scams that are out there, where you know, you're already in a position where you don't have an income and things are stressful and you're trying to figure out how to make things work, and then you have, why am I getting, all right, we have to check the galaxy map, because when on my way out here, I don't think I encountered maybe one or two of these non-fuel scoopable stars on the way out here. I don't understand what's going on here. These are supposed to be filtered out of my route. So we're going to take a second here. We're going to check our galaxy map. We're going to check our route. Maybe the settings got changed on me or something. Let me see. I got to remember stars. Yeah. OBAFGKM. Oh, non-sequence stars. Okay. Then I can't recalculate the route. There we go. Okay, hopefully that will deal with that. There's only 12 bodies in the system, so let's go ahead and do a scan here. So, you know, it's hard. Obviously, I don't necessarily go out of my way to cover video game news, But I am always looking for something interesting to talk about, and when a subject catches my attention, like the Helldivers 2 situation, well, then I'm going to spend some time talking about it. And, you know, I'm sure some people who come across this video have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. And that's why I kind of went through and explained the situation and what's going on. And, you know, the funny thing about it is that the reviews for the game overall as a result of this situation is that it went from more or less being an overwhelmingly positive review for the game to now, you know, the recent reviews in the last 30 days are all overwhelmingly negative, and the overall reviews for the game's lifetime has gone from, you know, really positive or overwhelmingly positive down to mixed. I mean, they have angered the player base to the point where everything that game has done positively in the last, you know, few months or whatever since it released has been completely wiped away. And, you know, that kind of sucks. And it kind of showcases how, you know, greed is always going to end up doing bad things to you in the end. You might make something in the short term, but in the end, greed is going to eventually bite you in the butt because you're gonna anger people. Being greedy and trying to grab as much as you can for yourself is always going to come back to bite you. And if it doesn't come back to bite you, it will come back to bite somebody. Why? I've never had a problem with temperature. Okay, weird. I believe there were 32 bodies in this system, but we're going to go ahead and hop in here. It doesn't look like there's any high-value planets. We typically look for Earth-like worlds. If you look down the bottom right of the screen, Earth-like worlds, ammonia worlds, and water worlds. As you can see on the spectrum, there's nothing here, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So, you know, it's just... it kind of sucks because a lot of people really like that game, and when you get into a situation where you have to choose between, you know, playing a game that you really like and then having to take a moral stance because the people involved with this game that you like do something that is harmful to people, you know, a lot of people don't have the moral courage to actually stand up and do something about that. They might try, but realistically, the average person is too consumed with their own personal day-to-day stuff to really pay attention to, you know, what's going on with everyone else around them. That's a sad fact, but it is the way human nature is. We're all concerned with the things that are important to us, and everyone else's concerns are always going to be a back burner issue. So, you know, but fortunately, geological, and we're looking for biological in the top right of the screen there. Fortunately, in this case, people were, you know, it's not even the negative reviews are not even a gameplay issue. It's you guys are doing something that's really scummy and ridiculous, and we're going to punish you for it. So it's always nice to see when that kind of stuff happens, when people, you know, they do what they need to do to protest something in the appropriate way too. Like, it's not, nobody's going to their headquarters and trying to tear down buildings and doing stupid, ridiculous things that aren't constructive and aren't going to change anybody's mind and it's just going to make people mad. They're doing it the right way. They're voicing their concern, and they're voting with their dollar, you know, by getting refunds and things like that. And, you know, that's really the most effective way to get things done, because, you know, a company may or may not respond to force, but realistically, these big companies have enough money to ignore your force. But when you start taking away their money, when you start, you know, taking your dollar elsewhere or refusing to spend your dollars with them, they tend to pay a lot more attention. I think history has shown that out. You know, the various protests that have ended in blood in history, even here in the United States. When you start taking away their money, they start paying attention a lot more. So it's really good to see that that's something that's happening. It's really good to see that the pressure that has been applied is resulting in the way that it should be. But at the same time, it is, I don't want to say it's a disheartening to see, but it's just, you know, it kind of adds to the sadness that this was even a situation in the first place. The idea that the people over at Sony thought that it was appropriate to take this game that, is being sold on various platforms and then require that you create an account to their platform. Like if you want people to be on your platform, then just make the game only available on your platform. If you want people to sign up for the Sony store, then you need to make it only available on the Sony store. Sony is the publisher for the game. They could have made it to where that was the case. They didn't have to put it on Steam. They didn't have to put it on whatever other platforms they may have decided to sell it on. They could have very easily have said, you know what, this is only going to be available in the PlayStation store, and that's just it. But because they wanted to, here we go, biological. What kind of body is this? Is it icy? Yeah, so that's going to be Fonticula, probably. I'm thinking I might start following the advice of one of my viewers who said that I should only really spend my time going after biological signatures on high metal content planet, or basically on the non-icy bodies, because the high metal content planets are. Oh, hold on, let's go ahead. I think we're going to do that for a while, just to see how it goes, because the Fonticula are worth a fair amount of money, but the high metal content planets have a much higher chance of giving me the Stratum Tectonicus, and that's worth almost 100 million credits, each one of those. So we might try to do that. We'll see. For now, I don't really feel like going to another planet just to find some more mushrooms. That kind of sucks. I was talking about Sony. I was talking about the decisions that they were making. I'm trying to get my mind. I got distracted. I'm trying to get back to where I was. So if they wanted to make their game, or if they wanted to get as many people as possible on the PlayStation Store, then they should have just made the game only available on the PlayStation Store. There's no reason they couldn't have done that. If PC players have to have a place, I don't really do PlayStation. I haven't done consoles since PlayStation 3, and even then, when I bought the PlayStation 3, I was already. Oh, that's a water world. When I bought the PlayStation 3, I was already pretty much done with consoles. The only reason I really bought the PlayStation 3 was because I wanted a Blu-ray player, and I decided that, if I'm going to spend money on something like that, I want to get as much functionality as I can, so I decided to get the PlayStation 3. But then I didn't buy any games for it or anything like that. And it's still working. Ooh, okay, now that's definitely biological 4. That's definitely worth going for, and it's a rocky body, so that's going to give us some diversity in the scans there. How far away? 18. Oh, I guess not. Yeah, 18,000. We're not doing that. That's too far away. Maybe if I had that new Super Cruise boosted thing, I would, but no, we don't have that, so we're definitely not wasting our time. And since, all this stuff is far away, so we're going to go ahead and just move on. The water world, however, the water world's far away too, so we're just going to move on. All right. I know I keep getting distracted. If you're new to the series, that's just a function of the series, because I have a topic that I'm trying to talk about, but then the game comes in and interrupts. So like I was saying, I don't really have much experience with the PlayStation Network, because my last experience with it was the PlayStation 3, back when I was actually using my PlayStation 3 for a console, and I was already more or less out of doing console gaming by that point. I bought a couple of movies off the PlayStation Store back in the day, like back when Star Trek, the Star Trek reboot first came out. I think I bought that, and I think that's pretty much all I bought. I don't have any games or anything like that, so I can't speak from any kind of experience, but I have to imagine that if all the PC players are required to link a PlayStation account to their PC version of the game, then, I have to imagine that they could have made it available from the PlayStation Store as a PC download as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that if they're so desperate to get people onto their platform to, increase the chances that someone buys something else from their store, then they should have just made it that way. They should have just made it to where all you could do is just buy it from the PlayStation Store, and now you have no choice but to be on their platform. And everybody would know up front. There's no gotchas in the back end of it. You buy it from PlayStation, and then you play the game. But they wanted to be greedy and cast the widest net possible, because there's a lot of people, myself included, who wouldn't even consider a game that's only available in the PlayStation Store. So, it's the scummy behavior of companies who place profits before people. And as somebody who, as I mentioned before, believes in the free market, I also don't believe that. So here's what I say. Here's my philosophy in life. I believe in the idea that just because you can do something and that you should be allowed to do something doesn't mean that you should actually do it. We should have the freedom to make choices. We should have the freedom to, you know, choose to be scummy people. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to endorse scummy behavior. And it also doesn't mean that I'm opposed to making it harder for scummy people to do scummy things, and for scummy businesses to do scummy things. So, you know, there's a fine line and a fine distinction between, you know, that and some of the more maybe socialist ideologies that are out there. I believe in maximum freedom, you know, up until the point where you're starting to infringe on other people's ability to live their lives. There are other people's ability to exercise their own freedoms. So take from that what you will. I try not to get political on my channel, but in this particular case, I guess I kind of have to be a little bit more detailed in my viewpoint on it, because, you know, big corporations like that, it creates an unfair situation where, you know, these big corporations have all this money and the ability to, you know, force things to happen the way they want to. And it really shouldn't be that way. They, you know, your money should not provide you with an avenue to be able to screw everyone else over just to put more money in your pocket. And it's sad that we live in a world where everybody believes that if you're not growing, then you're dying. It's like, well, how about you just provide a service for a reasonable fee and then, you know, make a reasonable profit? There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't have a problem with millionaires, billionaires, companies that have all kinds of crazy money, as long as the way that they're making that money is fair to everybody. Like, there's nothing wrong with being extremely rich. If you're providing a service that, if you're providing something to the world, to whether it's your local community or a country or the world entirely, if you're providing a service that is extremely valuable, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to make that kind of money. At the same time, a lot of these big companies get to the point where that's not enough for them. Now they need more, and then you get to the point where you have to start resorting to scummy, deceptive behavior to acquire even more money than what you already have. And it's sad that we live in a world where, you know, people can have so much and then somehow it's still not enough. But realistically, that's also human nature. I mean, nobody's ever satisfied with what they have. I've said it in the past that no matter where you are on the ladder of success, you're always looking to go up to the next rung on the ladder. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that philosophy of wanting to continue to move forward, continue to move up, I don't have a problem with that in and of itself. The problem I have is when people reach a point where they're not able to, you know, easily climb that ladder anymore, and then they start looking for horrible, ridiculous ways of, you know, acquiring more money. It's like, you're already mega rich. Why do you feel the need to start taking advantage of people? Why do you feel the need to start doing this stuff that it makes it harder for anyone else to start, you know, finding some success for themselves? Anyways, I know that's a tangent. It's off the main point. You know, it's vaguely related to the topic because, you know, Sony has shown itself to, and I'm sure they have in the past. I don't really follow Sony that much, so let me know in the comments. I'd like to see some other examples of Sony doing scummy things like this, because I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've done many things in the past, especially in the gaming-related sphere, to show that they don't really care about anybody except their own shareholders. I'm sure there are many examples. Please feel free to start listing them, because I'd be interested to know. But yeah, so that's the situation. You know, the game released and it was really popular, and then apparently from the very beginning, the CEO of the development company made it clear that he knew in advance that this was coming. I'm still not clear as to why what's going. Oh, wrong. It's the wrong one. I'm still not clear as to. Well, you know, he could have said something, and there was some kind of defense trying to be made for that, for him not saying something. I don't know. I mean, if I'm a game developer, I don't know. I'll probably put my foot in my mouth if I try to say something about that particular subject. So I'll just leave that alone. You guys can decide for yourself. The fact is that he posted a tweet that said that he knew that it was coming, and you know, he's partially to blame for how all of this came out. And it's great that he accepted responsibility, but at the same time, you know, why didn't he do something about it before it actually became a problem? But, well, you know, I don't know. But yeah, so that's the summary of all of it. PlayStation Sony always intended to do this from the very beginning, and the people who were involved in the development of the game knew that it was coming, didn't say anything, and the real injustice is just the fact that they sold the game to people that they knew wouldn't have access to the game once this thing was actually implemented. And apparently it was supposed to be implemented from the very beginning. They had some technical issues that forced them to turn it off, and they didn't go out of their way to make it super clear that, you know, linking your PlayStation account, your PSN account, was going to be mandatory. They really didn't make a big deal out of it, and they should have. But, you know, what happened is what happened. We'll see if the backtracking on Sony's part actually changes people's opinion of the game. Realistically, people are fickle, and as long as the issue is addressed, people will be more than happy to go back to enjoying something that they were enjoying before all of the pesky morality stuff came in. So I have to imagine that in the next couple of weeks, the reviews will start going back up, and, you know, player engagement and all of that stuff, everybody's opinion of the game will go back to where it was. You know, it might take a while, but, you know, I don't imagine the game is dead because Sony decided to act like scummy people. You know, it is what it is. I think we need to start looking for a body to land on. So, we're not landing in this system, not at 44,000 light seconds. Let's hop into one or two more systems, and hopefully we'll find what we're looking for. We have 50 jumps left to our next waypoint, but we still have a long way to go to get back to the bubble. As much as I'd like to hurry up and get back and get the fleet carrier, we don't have enough money, so we have to take our time. This isn't something that we can rush because we have to make sure that we stop enough and scan enough to make enough money by the time we get back to the bubble to actually buy the fleet carrier. I did do a test live stream. Now that I moved to my new location, it seems like I have a much better connection now. So the dropped frames and stuff that I was having when I was parked in the RV park, probably because it was up on, it was up on a low mountain, and I imagine I probably had some kind of blockage that was making it hard. But I seem to have a much better connection. My uploads from my video are also much faster in this new spot. So, we're definitely not stopping here. Is there anything closer? Yeah, they're all really far away. So we'll see. My goal at some point, once we get our fleet carrier, is to start doing a weekly live stream where we move the carrier. I know some people were saying that you can move the carrier from anywhere, so I could like fly ahead of my carrier and then have it jump to me. But I think what I'm going to do is that we'll move the carrier to a spot, and I'll just search all of the systems around that spot over the course of a week. Do some mining, do some other things, whatever I feel like doing for the videos for the week. And then on the whatever day we do the live stream, that'll be the day that we actually move the carrier, and I'll dock with the carrier, and we'll sit on the bridge and, you know, spend an hour moving the carrier from wherever it is to whatever the new base of operations will be for that week. That's kind of my thought process as to how that's going to eventually end up going, and it'll give you guys a chance to have some live interaction. I know that I don't really want to get too heavy into the live streaming thing because, the whole point of me wanting to do something like this is so that I'm not locked down to a schedule, and streaming by its very nature requires you to maintain a very strict schedule so that people will actually show up to your streams. So I'm going to be of course all of these are far away. I need to start looking at distances because I'm wasting. Oh, here we go. Because I'm wasting a bunch of time scanning bodies that are too far away for me to do anything with. Okay, these are close enough. Hoping that these are going to be... Okay. Now, are any of these close enough that I can land on them? 207 light seconds. I can do that. Gonna be a little bit long on this episode, but that's okay. I got a little bit distracted with a little bit distracted. Oh, and then just the fact that it just took us a little bit longer to find a place to land than I was hoping it would. So yeah, that's my plan for the future. And then obviously the the Helldivers 2 situation. It's ridiculous that things have to get to that point before people actually do the right thing. I've never understood, and maybe it's just because I've never been in that position. It's easy to sit on the outside as a person who basically has never really had much money, and to sit on the outside and, you know, judge people for behaving the way that they do. I'd love to be able to give those kind of people the benefit of the doubt, but I can't find any logical way other than selfish people doing greedy things because, you know, they believe in this idea that if they don't take from everybody else, then they're not going to continue to grow. They're not going to continue to get more. They move away from this idea that if they just provide good value, they'll get more stuff. They'll get more, and they start believing in the, you know, we have to force people to do what we want. And I guess that kind of goes back to that standard saying, that truism that we have, that power corrupts. And okay, seriously, I turned it off. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you have a company as big as Sony, you know, you start getting into that I have money and money is power, and, you know, more people who have power always want more power. And that's just kind of the way that it works. I don't know. There's no way around that either. Like, whatever system of government or whatever ideological, you know, societal governance that you try to come up with, you're never going to remove the human greed component from that, because that's human beings. That's what we are. And you know, it just kind of sucks. It kind of sucks that people are that way, but that is what we are. There's no getting around that. You can't legislate your way out of that. You can't socially engineer your way out of that. The only thing you can do is do your best to try to, you know, place roadblocks in the way of people being able to do that kind of stuff, and hope for the best. Not much else you can do there. It's a sad thing, but it is what it is. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to stop it. I'm just saying that all you can do is try to stop it. It's never going away. Okay. So let's get the night vision turned off, because we don't really need that. I think we'll land in this little spot here, and then we'll go ahead and call it a day. So hopefully you guys had lots of fun. Be sure to click that like button if you did, so that the YouTube algorithm will know and send the video out to as many people as possible. If you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so now, so that when the next video comes out, it will show up in your feed, and you will be able to watch it as soon as it becomes available. Channel members do get early access to all of my content, so be sure to click that join button, check out the list of options available there, and decide if any of those are right for you. If you're not interested in a continuing membership, you can always leave YouTube's version of a tip with that thanks button. Direct contributions are greatly appreciated and a critical component to helping to turn this channel into a thriving online business, which is the dream. So again, thank you very much for your time. Don't forget to check out that GoFundMe for our mother-in-law's car. Every little bit helps. Be sure to come back for the next episode, and I'll see you then.